In 1969, Chevrolet released an engine so rare and so advanced that most people didn't even know it existed. It was the ZL1, an all-aluminum 427 big block designed for racing. But slipped into a handful of Camaros to satisfy NHRA rules. Only 69 were built, but the impact was enormous. On paper, it looked like a factory car. In reality, it was a street-legal drag racer with the heart of a Can-Am engine. So just how good was the Chevy Big Block ZL1? Actually, let's find out. Chapter 1. Racing DNA. The ZL1 wasn't designed for the street. Its roots were in Can-Am, where McLaren and Chaparral teams dominated with Chevrolet's experimental aluminum 427s. These engines were lighter, stronger, and more brutal than anything else on the grid.
Cylinders Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon and McLaren's tiny red Chevy-powered invention have been consistent contenders throughout the series.
Chevy engineers took that Can-Am technology and adapted it into a version that could be slipped into production cars. Barely. The result was the ZL1, an aluminum block, aluminum heads, forged internals, and airflow designed for high RPM punishment. It was essentially a detuned racing engine, masquerading as a factory option. Chapter 2. The COPO loophole. Chevrolet had a corporate ban on putting engines larger than 400 cubic inches into regular cars. That should have killed the ZL1 project. But dealers discovered a loophole called COPO, the Central Office Production Order. Normally used for taxis or fleet trucks, COPO could also be used to order special performance combinations that weren't in the catalog. Dealer Fred Gibb saw the opportunity. He wanted a Camaro that could dominate NHRA superstock. To make it legal, Chevrolet had to build at least 50 cars with the engine. Gibb took the plunge and ordered 50 ZL1 Camaros through COPO 9560. These cars were stripped-down machines, heavy-duty suspension, 4-speed Muncie or Turbo 400 Auto 4.10 gears, Cal induction hoods, and almost no frills. Most were plain steel wheel cars that looked ordinary, until you opened the hood. The price was the killer. The ZL1 option cost more than $4,000. With the base car, that made a ZL1 Camaro a $7,200 car in 1969, twice the cost of a loaded SS396. They were nearly unsellable. Gibb only managed to move 13, and the rest were redistributed to other performance dealers. In total, just 69 were ever built. Chapter 3. Inside the Beast. The ZL1 engine was Chevrolet's first production aluminum block. It weighed just 500 pounds, about the same as a small block 327, and over 100 pounds lighter than an iron big block. For a Camaro, that meant better balance and quicker launches. Specs were brutal: 427 cubic inches, 7.0 litres, 12:1 compression ratio, radical solid lifter camshaft, forged crank, rods and pistons, 850 CFM Holley carb on a high-rise aluminum intake. Chevrolet rated it at 430 horsepower. The reality? Closer to 500 to 550 in stock trim. With open headers and tuning, some pushed over 600. It was intentionally underrated to satisfy GM brass and keep insurance companies at bay. The idle was rough, the manners terrible, but above 2,500 RPM, it exploded with power, all the way past 6,500. It was an engine that only came alive when pushed. Exactly what racers wanted. Chapter 4. Performance numbers. On stock tires and exhaust, a ZL1 Camaro could run the quarter mile in low 13 seconds at over 110 miles per hour. That already made it the quickest production car of its time. But with slicks and open headers, the same car dropped into the 11s at 120 miles per hour. In NHRA superstock trim, racers tuned them into the 10s. By 1971, one had run 9.63 seconds at 143 miles per hour, in a car that still looked like it came off the showroom floor. Compared to the rivals, Ford's 428 Cobra Jet Mustangs ran high 13 seconds. The Boss 429, despite its legendary name, was also a mid-13 second car. Chrysler's 426 Hemi was a powerhouse, but in stock trim usually ran low 13 seconds. The ZL1 had the edge. With less weight up front and more horsepower in reality than on paper, it was the king of the quarter mile. Chapter 5. Racing Legacy. Around 20 of the 69 ZL1 Camaros went straight into professional drag racing. Dick Harrell, known as Mr. Chevrolet, ran one at the 69 Winter Nationals and shocked Mopar fans by beating a Hemi. Others campaigned in NHRA and AHRA, where they won Superstock and even early Pro Stock championships. These cars were weapons. Tuned properly, they were among the fastest stock-appearing cars of the era. Some engines found their way into dragsters and even boats, because racers knew how strong and light they were. The ZL1 wasn't built for Trans Am or NASCAR. Its natural home was the drag strip, and in that arena, it earned a reputation as nearly unbeatable. Chapter 6. Myths vs. Reality. The ZL1's 430 horsepower rating has fueled decades of debate. Everyone knew it was false. Dyno pulls of stock spec engines show over 500 horsepower with manifolds and over 550 with headers. Chevrolet deliberately sandbagged the numbers to avoid corporate and insurance backlash. Another myth was that these were street cars. In truth, they were barely drivable on the street. They ran hot, fouled plugs and chewed through fuel at single-digit miles per gallon. The cam made them rough at idle, and traction on street tires was non-existent. Many original buyers pulled the engines and replaced them with tamer motors just to make the car usable. But as race engines, they were everything Chevrolet promised. And then some. Chapter 7. With only 69 built, surviving ZL1 Camaros are among the most valuable muscle cars ever. Cars with their original engine blocks are especially prized. In 2020, one sold at auction for over $1 million after being reunited with its numbers-matching engine. An engine that had spent decades powering a boat. Today, restored examples typically bring between $600,000 and $1 million, depending on history. The two Corvettes ordered with ZL1 engines are even rarer, with one selling for over $3 million. Restoring one is a challenge. Original aluminum blocks are nearly impossible to find, and when they do surface, they sell for more than the price of a new car. Enthusiasts sometimes use period-correct Yenko cast aluminum blocks or modern reproductions, but nothing matches the value of an original. Chapter 8. The Verdict. So how good was the Chevy ZL1? Big block, really. As a piece of engineering, it was incredible. An aluminum 427 that delivered small block weight with big block power. On the drag strip, it was the fastest production car of its era, a true quarter-mile king. As a street car, it was a nightmare. Overpriced, temperamental, and unsuitable for daily driving. That's why dealers struggled to sell them, and why production stopped at just 69. But as a legend, it's untouchable. The ZL1 proved that when the right people exploited the right loopholes, Detroit could build a car that blurred the line between racing and the street. It showed Chevrolet's engineering at its most extreme, and it left behind one of the greatest myths of the muscle car era. How good was it? Not just good, legendary.